Hi guys, Devontra XYZ, and I know it's been months since I've done a good and the bad episode, but I decided maybe this would be a good time for me to get back into it to try to see if I can establish more of it. And I've just been having less and less time, unfortunately, but I'd like to try to see if I can get videos like this every once in a while if I can. But what we have right now is PlayStation 1 game, Tomorrow Never Dies, James Bond game. Haven't really played this in quite some time, honestly, but yeah, so essentially, it's pretty much based off of the movie of the same name, a third person shooter, so to speak, where you're playing as Bond, trying to stop Elliot Carver. But it does actually hold up pretty well up to these days, these standards. Well, let's take a look. Well, for the good of 007 Tomorrow Never Dies, I guess one thing I can say right off the bat is I do like the game modes that they have. It's mostly a third person shooter, but they also include a couple of skiing missions where you're actually skiing down the mountains trying to avoid bad guys and having to use having to use your skiing sticks to try to knock them out. Then you also have a driving sequence where you're driving down the road at night trying to disable trucks, vehicles along the way. So it's a pretty good change in pace right there. Another thing is I do like the gadgets and weapons that you get. A good variety. Uh, Kind of ranging in like accuracy, range, power, and then also the gadgets themselves are kind of unique, kind of lasers, fingerprint scanners, hidden cameras, and stuff like that. So it kind of does make you feel like an actual spy. And I guess the third thing I would have to say is I do like the missions themselves, like the amount of missions. Well, you only get 10 missions, but the thing is though, they did take key stuff from the movie itself and incorporate it into the game. But at the same time, they also have a couple of original missions that weren't in the movie itself, so kind of further extending the game time, but at the same time, kind of giving something more unique and original that's haven't been seen. Well, in terms of bad, at least one thing I can see right off the top of my head would have to be the tank-like controls and the camera. I guess like the character has like a lot of weight behind it, or I guess the way how the models are laid out, it just feels like turning or changing viewports just takes forever to do, and kind of leaving you wide open for attacks, which unfortunately kind of means that you have to plan your moves ahead of time and actually start rotating before you entering a building or whatever. The second I'll have to say is the difficulty. For instance, the difficulty itself. But there's like two difficulties: normal, and then there's the 007 difficulty, like that normal and hard mode. But I mean, it's either way too easy or it's way too hard, depending on what you pick. And it's like no, it's not consistent. That's the problem. And then the third, I would have to say the auto aim feature that they have, where yeah, you do have an auto aim where you can target enemies at a distance, but it feels like at times it's a little bit unwieldy because even when you're trying to aim at a target and trying to fire at them, sometimes it feels like the bullets don't connect or something's happening. At least that's kind of what I've experienced when I was playing this game. Well, I guess in terms of improvements, I guess really two big things. I would say I wish there was a way to kind of map out controls or kind of adjust the sensitivity of the character itself. Well, some button combinations I just don't really like, or I got used to in modern shooters nowadays. So it's kind of a little bit awkward to try to go back to an old PlayStation game like this to try to play it. Uh, but again, also I kind of wish there was a way to kind of adjust sensitivity, kind of rotate cameras a lot faster, or like somewhat increase the player speed. Something like the game speed itself. Really, I wish they could just improve the speed in general. And second, I would have to say I wish they could add in like a more difficulty modes in between it, like maybe something that's in between the normal and then the hard, so that it gets more a balanced game. Because there are times, again, there are times where it gets too easy to the point where it gets boring, but there are times when it gets too hard, you're playing the hard difficulty where it kind of becomes almost unplayable. Well, overall, 007 Tomorrow Never Dies, I'd say is a okay game. I mean, honestly, it hasn't really aged that well comparing it to like shooters nowadays. I mean, it's just kind of hard trying to go back to this game on the PlayStation One and try to play it. I mean, it's doable, but I mean, it's not something I would consistently jump back into doing. I mean, I do like the weapons, the gadgets that you get. The game modes are pretty nice. I mean, it's just I like the overall feel of like being James Bond, almost like recreating the movie itself. But the other things though just is way upon you, like the controls and the button layouts, the camera itself, and then the inconsistentness of the aiming and difficulty. It just kind of weighs upon you over time, and unfortunately, it kind of makes it more of a struggle to really try to complete this game. I guess really with that though, I would say this game, to me, earns a score of a 6 out of 10, just like slightly above average. I mean, it's really played more on the nostalgic value. I mean, it's a PlayStation One game. It's based off of James Bond. It's one of the first few Bond games that came out during the modern times. So I'd say it's not too bad. Maybe just renting it, or maybe actually finding it cheap on eBay. I mean, you can probably find this for maybe like $5 on eBay if you look for hard enough. So I'd say it's maybe at least worth the chance to just play through at least once and kind of give an interesting feel for it. But yeah, I mean that it is. It's one of the first Bond games, so it's not that bad considering the limitations they had back then. All right, guys, this is Devil Hunter XYZ, and until next time.